What's going on, YouTube? I'm back with another video. So I have just returned from YCS Vegas and I had a pretty fun time, and I wanted to make this video to sort of do a recap on what I did, how everything went down, give my overall experience at the YCS, and give some feedback on how I think things can be done to make the experience even better. Take the good YCS experience that I had and turn it into a great one. So originally I was going to go and play in the 3v3 with a couple friends, and unfortunately one of our teammates got sick on Thursday and we weren't able to find a replacement. So I was unable to play in the 3v3, but I personally didn't care too much to play in it. I think for me, the whole point of wanting to go to a YCS is that I don't get to play in the RBETs, and the YCS then becomes this nice outlet where I can actually go and compete, get to actually play some Edison, get to play some retro formats, and potentially win pricing from it. Due to always running production for the RBETs, which I enjoy doing, it leaves me hungry for competition. I see everyone play, I see all the fun and everyone enjoying the competition at the RBETs, and it leaves me wanting to find an outlet to go and play myself. I figured I would go and then play in side events. So originally, my first plan was to go and play in the structure deck duels. If you guys haven't seen, the new structure deck playmat is the Maiden of White with the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate White Dragon, and I think it looks incredible. The mat looks phenomenal. I figured I'm gonna go and play in the structure deck duels and practice, get myself up to snuff with the Blue Eyes structure deck to prepare for the structure deck duels and try to win the mat, because I really wanted that mat. I thought it was a very pretty mat. So I went out and I bought in-sleeved, not one, but two structure decks. We got the two Blue Eyes structure decks, right, with like card for card. I sleeved them, got the sleeves, and I started playing with my friends who play current, right, just to get an understanding of, the structure deck itself, understand how the cards play. And then they announced for the first structure deck event that they're not using the Blue Eye structure deck. They are instead using the Fire King structure deck. And at that point, I was a little disappointed. I know how to play Fire Kings. I played Fire King Snake Eye back then. It feels a little incorrect that you're giving away this really cool Blue Eyes White Dragon mat, but then the structure deck pod is playing with the Fire King structure deck. And they said this was only happening for the first event. And then I said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and sign up for the second pod. And that one was taking a lot longer to fire, so I went ahead and then joined an Edison pod, and I ended up missing that structure deck pod. And then when I went to go collect the participation structure deck for that, it was the Crystal Beast structure deck. And so it kind of begs the question, why? I don't understand why would you want to not do the Blue Eyes structure deck for the structure deck duels, right? It kind of feels like that should be the structure deck that you should be providing to players, and play for the Blue Eyes structure deck mat. I guess I can understand from a store perspective, right? Maybe you have a lot of inventory of the Crystal Beast structure deck, you don't have a lot of inventory of the Blue Eyes structure deck, and you're trying to, use this as an opportunity to offload that inventory. But it just feels so short-sighted versus giving a player experience that would be more expected, as well as that Blue Eyes structure deck is really fun. This structure deck where you get 5 hand traps with a Called by the Grave and the Blue Eyes gameplay, who wouldn't want to play that? Why wouldn't you want to play with the Blue Eyes structure deck at an event, right? I feel players would much rather play what is the most recent structure deck and use that to win the same map, right? It feels a lot better as a player to win that structure deck. And it's also a very good structure deck. I think it's a perfect opportunity to promote the Blue Eyes structure deck, because if you're someone who is newer to the game, the Blue Eyes structure deck is a phenomenal entry into the game. So it kind of behooves me to question why you wouldn't and why you would do this one instead. And that's really the only reason I can come up with, right? We have a lot of Crystal Beast structure decks. We don't have a lot of Blue Eyes structure decks, so let's just run pods with the structure decks that we have a lot of. And while that's great for offloading your inventory, I feel you're kind of doing your players a disservice, right, by doing something like this. So after that, I was a little disappointed, and then I was having a really fun time with the Edison pods, so I said, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and stick to that. And that is actually where my second grievance comes from. So if you played in an Edison pod, the participation packs you were given were Photon Hypernova. And I don't understand, why are we getting Photon Hypernova as participation packs? This came out in 2023. This pack is like 2 years old. This is also very questionable, right? It kind of feels like, okay, you're trying to offload some packs, but this seems like the perfect opportunity to give players Maze of the Master for participation pricing. Especially for Edison, this would have been the perfect marketing strategy to give to your players. Do you know how cool it would be for players receiving the Maze of the Masters booster packs, and then they get a collector's rare Ready Yari or a collector's rare Atlantean Heavy Infantry, as well as welcomed reprints to Edison? And not only that, but you're also getting really cool iconic card retrains, right? If you're someone that plays Edison and you don't play Current, and you see the X-Cross Cannon or the Z-Zillion Tank or the Y Rarehead, Y Yarehead, or the Fusion or the ABCs, the new support for that, any of the new support for that, and you take an interest, right? You might be interested in this new retrain of an old set, and it might get you to want to build that deck or purchase product for building that deck. It almost feels like it's the perfect opportunity to give sets like Maze of the Master. I think Herald of Orange Light comes in that as well. It makes so much more sense to give these reprint sets over old core sets. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be this one. It could be something like Rarity Collection 1 or Rarity Collection 2. Sets that contain cards that are relevant to the players in that format, as well as give an entryway into current format. So it really begs the question, why not give reprint packs instead of core set packs to the Ultimate Time Wizard pod events, right? I feel something like that would be a huge way to promote your game in a positive way, as well as give players that play in that Ultimate Time Wizard event a pack that is more related to them as a player. This was the other grievance I kind of had. It felt very odd to me to be receiving this pack, 3 packs of this. And again, it just feels almost like, well, we have a lot of inventory of Photon Hypernova, so let's just give it away as participation pricing, because at the end of the day, why should we care about participation pricing? But I think participation pricing shouldn't be looked at as a way to offload inventory, and should instead be looked at as a way to promote your game, right? As a way to show players, hey, this new set came out. Like, there's packs of these new cards. Like, you haven't seen this. Players probably don't know that these cards exist. So it feels more correct in the long term for the health of the player base to help continue to grow the community, expose the community to what's going on in current, as well as new archetypes being made, and reach these people in a much better way. And it's the same thing with the Blue Eye structure deck. It's a new structure deck that is playable from the get-go, and it's phenomenal, and it's fun, and it's Blue Eyes. So why wouldn't you want to play in the Blue Eyes structure deck? So with that out of the way, though, those were the 2 big issues that I kind of had. I wouldn't even say there were issues, really, because it's like, at the end of the day, I appreciate what they're doing, but I want things just to be better, right? I want improvement. I want us to be moving in a trajectory that is going to affect the player base in the long term. I really hope something like this is heard and taken into account for future events. So with that out of the way, we can continue to talk about my experience at the YCS. As you know, I'm an x-saber enthusiast, and I went ahead and showed my deck profile on Asian with Cards YouTube channel. I'll have a link for that below if you guys want to go ahead and check that out. But how did we do, right? Unfortunately, we got to the finals 3 times with x-sabers. We couldn't close it out any of the 3 times. One of the games felt completely unwinnable. I lost the die roll to Glads, and they opened 5 back row, won Glad twice, and the back row is just absurd. I could not play through the back row. I tried to Trunade, it got Solemned, I tried to Heavy, it got Starlight Roaded, and then I tried to be proactive, and they had all the Torrential, the Mirror Force, and they were doing their Glad strat alongside it. And if you didn't know, X-Saber's worst matchup is Gladiator Beast. Chariot is a really bad card, and you have to crash recruiters into them to get your strategy going. So naturally, this makes Gladiator Beast a really hard matchup for X-Sabers. And I was trying to take that into account by playing a couple more tech options that favor the Glad Beast matchup, like My Body's a Shield, but it did not work, unfortunately. So that one felt unwinnable. The other final I played against was against Hero Beat, and that one is usually more favorable, but unfortunately, he was playing a very teched out version, and he happened to play Elemental Hero Wildheart. And usually my strat for the Hero Beat matchup is to put in Gravity Bind and level him in Area B, and we're going to try to stall until I can build up my strategy to essentially make my push, right? And I had Gravity Bind face up on the field, and my opponent realized, oh, I can send a Wild Heart with the Wild Heart that I main deck with Prisma and add it back to my hand with Ocean due to him being stalled. And then he was able to summon the Wild Heart, and Wild Heart, unfortunately, is able to attack through Gravity Bind, and he used that to whittle me down to 0. And that was the end of game 3. So we lost that one. And then the other match, I felt like I could have won it, but it was against the Gaia Plate. What are they? Evil Heroes? The Dark Calling, and then you make the Fiend guy. And I was not up to snuff in that matchup. I was completely unaware of the cards that my opponent would be playing, what could be in their deck. And so we lost that match due to me not being knowledgeable on that matchup, unfortunately. And it happens. After that, we played a couple more Edison pods, and unfortunately we couldn't get there. And that leads me into the next thing I want to talk about, and it's the improvement of the Edison community as a whole. So when I played at YCS Pasadena 2 years ago, I came out of that event with 4 ladder mats, and this time around, I came out with none. And that to me showcases how much better everyone has gotten with Edison as a whole. A lot of gameplay is really tight. A lot of people understand matchups so much better now than they did, and they know how to play at a much better level than people played 2 years ago. And that's really awesome to see, honestly. I welcome really strong competition coming in to change the game, to revolutionize Edison format. So it's really awesome to see this improvement and experience this improvement firsthand, because it's always easy to look and watch gameplay and watch as I do the feature matches and say, like, I could be there too, right? I could be winning these events, and really just get hit with the reality check that, hey, everyone's really good right now. Everyone's play is really tight, and if you want to succeed in this format, you have to grind. You have to test, you have to evaluate why you're losing, and understand what your meta is, and be ready for it, right? You have to be prepared for what is currently Gladiator Beast, Frogs, the Gigaplant deck, Blackwings, Vayu, and the other meta strategies, and having something that can compete with everyone, as well as having a side deck that addresses everything, having something for every strategy. And it is so difficult, but those who do it are rewarded heavily for doing so. So I just want to give a huge shout out to the Edison community, because I am so proud that everyone has improved so much. It's so awesome to see. And I wanted to say thank you to anyone that said hi to me at the venue. It really means a lot that you guys are fans of the channel, that you guys actually watch this stuff. I think it's really heartwarming to see. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this kind of content. If you do, please like the video. And if you have any comments regarding a couple of the grievances that I have, some improvements for the game, drop a comment down below explaining what you think is good or bad. Talk about your experience at the YCS. I'd love to hear it. And please, 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 if you enjoy this type of content and wish to support this channel, please consider dropping a sub. It would mean a lot. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm super excited for us to hit that goal. It would mean so much to me if we can get there. Hopefully by the end of the year. We'll see. We're gonna try. Now, before I end the video, there is one last thing I want to show off. And while this doesn't change my feedback of the event, because let's be honest, this is just really lucky. I can't express how lucky this was. And honestly, this almost feels like the universe kind of hinting, maybe you shouldn't make this video, because look, how could you share a concern on how things can be better if you got something that is really good? And I don't think this qualifies as an exception. I think just because I got this is really cool, I don't think it means that the latter wouldn't be better for the community as a whole, to help engage players more with current, to help give Ultimate Time Wizard players a booster pack that has cards related to their format, and really just give a participation prize that is better for the longevity of the community. So when we opened our Photon Hypernova packs, we got the one card that is actually insanely valuable, and that is the Starlight Mirror Jade. I cannot believe that we got this card in. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on this thing because it is beautiful. There we go. So we did pull the Starlight Mirror Jade, and I gotta say, I definitely appreciate it, but I really, really feel I would appreciate it a lot more if we offered participation prizing that bolsters the community as a whole. I want things that are more relatable to me as a player and help increase the odds and likelihood that someone would consider playing the game. With that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the video up here. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Peace.